Hi, BC family. Welcome to your midweek devotion. This week, I want to talk to you about how He knows. So, have you ever gone through a storm or a season in life and you keep hearing people say, cast your cares on God, rest in His peace, give it to God, keep looking up and out, not down and at, and take no offense and walk in love. And sometimes maybe you've said, or you've had it said to you, when people have said, well, you don't know what I'm going through. You can't imagine what I'm going through. You don't understand. You don't understand what it's like to walk in my shoes, right? There are even songs about that. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows my sorrows. And in most cases, it's true. I don't know what you're going through unless I've experienced it myself. But Jesus knows. So I want to show you something that I found in Hebrews 4:14 through 15. And I'm going to read out of the Amplified. It says, "Inasmuch then as we have a great high priest who has already ascended and passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold fast our confession of faith in him. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to understand and sympathize and have a shared feeling with our weaknesses and infirmities and liability to the assaults of temptation, but one who has been tempted in every respect as we are, yet without sinning." So Jesus was tempted on all things, in everything you can think of, he experienced, right? He can understand and sympathize with us. He understands and shares our feelings. He has experienced all of our weaknesses. It says he was tempted in every respect. See, Jesus wasn't born of a woman so that he could sit up here and observe from afar. No, he was born of a woman and became flesh and blood so he could be just like us. Smell the same smells we smell, feel the same pain, live amongst the chaotic and corrupt governments, go through all those types of things, go through different wars, have the emotions of happiness and grief and anger and pain. Jesus can sympathize with us. He knows how hard it is. He sweat blood to keep his flesh under. That's how much he understands what it's like to have the temptation and feel all the feels in an earthly body. But look at verse 15 again. One who has been tempted in every respect as we are, yet without sinning. So when you're going through a storm or a season in life and you keep hearing from people, cast your cares on God, rest in his peace, give it to God, keep looking up and out, not down and at, take no offense, walk in love, instead of becoming defensive and saying, well, you don't understand, take a moment and think, Jesus understands. He has lived it and was able to give it to God, rest in peace, walk in love. And you might be saying, well, he's Jesus. No, he was a man. He was a human being. So how are we supposed to be able to navigate all of the stuff and sin not? Well, Jesus is our example, right? And Jesus did all of this because of his love for God. He kept in constant contact with his Abba Father. I've been talking the last few devos about the importance of abiding in him, dwelling in him, waking up and having that appointment with him in the morning and inviting him in with you for the rest of your day. Jesus had that. Jesus was always in constant communication with his Father. When the weight of the world came down, he withdrew to his Abba Father and became refreshed and strengthened and rejuvenated. Brandon Brim, I got to listen to him and recently, and he said, this is what he said, and I loved it. He said, time with God, time in his presence refreshes us. Spending time with the Lord is refreshing. It doesn't take from you. Religion takes from you. And I really liked what he had to say, because when you make something I have to spend time with God, I have to do my checklist. When it's a badge you wear, look at all the things I'm doing for God. I've talked to people multiple times, how's it going? And I'm just so tired, I'm exhausted, but I'm doing so much for the kingdom of God. And I've been in warfare prayer, but I'm worn out, I'm getting tired. That's not God. Time with God is refreshing. It doesn't take from you. Jesus sweat drops of blood. He was in warfare prayer. But when he was done, he was refreshed and ready to overcome, to take on the day. He stood up in peace, refreshing, strengthened, not weakened and exhausted, and could barely handle the day. See the difference? Time with God and his presence, it doesn't take from you, right? Exodus 33:14 says, "And the Lord said, my presence shall go with you, and I will give you rest." Jeremiah 31:25, "For I will fully satisfy the weary soul, and I will replenish every languishing and sorrowful person." Psalms 138:3, "In the day when I called you, you answered me, and you strengthened me with strength in my inner self." 1 Samuel 36, "David was greatly distressed, for the men spoke of stoning him, because the souls of them were bitterly grieved, each man for his sons and daughters. But David encouraged and strengthened himself in the Lord his God." I mean, I could go on and on, but what do these all have in common? Each one shows that time with God in his presence is refreshing, is satisfying, is strengthening, is a replenishing. Jesus was our example here on earth, right? He hit an obstacle, and instead of reacting, he stepped into his Father's presence, and he got the wisdom, the refreshing, the strength he needed. And then he was able to open his mouth and sin not. Then he was able to walk through the moment, through the storm, through the season, and sin not. This week, as you hit different moments, seasons, storms, hardships, don't block out the word, the faith being spoken to you by saying, well, you just don't understand. God does. Jesus understands. He knows. And he gave us an example of how to walk through it the right way. You can be in this world, but not a part of it. Jesus was in the world, but he didn't act like it. He didn't react like it. Why? Because he was filled with his Father. He spent time with his Father. He was refreshed by his Father. Colossians 3:10 says, "And have clothed yourselves with new spiritual self, which is ever in the process of being renewed and remodeled into knowledge, after the image and the likeness of him who created it." What does that mean? It means we are becoming more like God when we spend time with him. Colossians 3:11 through 14 continues to read about all the stuff you can put on during your time in God's presence, what you get when you're in his presence. Verse 12 says, "Clothe yourself as God's own chosen ones by putting on behavior marked by tender-hearted pity and mercy, kind feeling, a lowly opinion of yourself, gentle ways," I love this part, "patience, and the power to endure whatever comes with a good temper." When you are in his presence, spending time with him, you are able to clothe yourself in those things: kindness, mercy, patience, the power to endure whatever comes with a good temper. See, this is how Jesus endured and sinned not. He was always putting on what his Father was giving him in their time. Verse 13 says, "Be gentle and forbearing with one another, and if one has a difference against another, readily pardon each other, even as the Lord has forgiven you, so must you also forgive." And Colossians 3:14, "And above all these, put on love, and enfold yourself with the bond of perfectness." I love that. Put on love. It's going into his presence and putting on love, being refreshed in forgiveness so we can forgive others. Remember, our time with God doesn't take from us. It gives to us. Colossians 3:15, "And let the peace from Christ rule. Act as umpire in your hearts, deciding and settling with finality all questions that arise in our minds." I love that. When you are spending time with God, it is allowing his peace to be umpire. How can you go through something and sin not? Because when you are becoming more like him, spending time with him, it lets his peace become umpire over your heart. An umpire has a different vantage point, a different angle, right? The batter may see it one way, the pitcher one way, the catcher the one way, the crowd another way, but the only way that matters is what the umpire sees. And when we spend time in him daily, when his peace becomes umpire of our heart, telling us when to swing, when to walk, when to speak, when to take the next step, when to hold your tongue, when to change directions. There is such an importance right now for our quality time with our Abba Father. Come boldly to the throne this week. I want to end this back at Hebrews 4:15. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to understand and sympathize and have a shared feeling with our weakness and infirmities and liability to the assaults of temptation, but one who has been tempted in every respect as we are, yet without sinning. And I'm going to end right here at verse 16. So since we know that Jesus knows, he understands, he's gone through it, it says, let us then fearlessly and confidently and boldly draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy for our failures and find grace to help in good times for every need, appropriate help, well-timed help, coming just when we need it. Don't you love that? When we know that he truly does know and care for the season, the storm, the trial we are in, then we can boldly come to him in his presence, and he will refresh and strengthen and renew. He will give well-timed help right when we need it. So this week, don't forget, he knows. Have a great week. Bye.